Hello.
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 In 1997, Joseph Parker stated the first step in understanding the sex industry is to understand the customers, the Johns. So therefore, we'll look in depth to the Japan sex industry demand. I chose Japan because of the research done by Christian Academia at Bowling Green State University. She found that Japan is currently ranked as a tier country within the Trafficking in Person 2017 report that is conducted by the United States Department of State. Each year, women and children fall victim to the ban of sex trafficking around the world, including Japan. Is there any way to put an end to this? I will answer this question with an explanation of the history and demand of sex trafficking, followed by current conditions and possible solutions. I will now go on to describe a brief history of sex trafficking in Japan. According to research done by Christina Academia at Bowling Green State University, she states that even though sex trafficking has been happening for hundreds of years, it became prevalent in Japan during and after World War II. It started off with parents selling their children off, and this practice became obsolete in the 1950s, where Japan looked at a different avenue and it started exploiting migrant women. This was achievable because of the economic boom in the late 1960s and early 1970s. At the same time, Japan experienced an increased demand for its sex industry. The demand surged from Japanese workers that traveled during work. According to Christine Academia at Bowling Green State University, in the year 2000, it was estimated that almost 300,000 women from countries like the Philippines, Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand worked in that industry. Despite employment, women were trapped in debt bondage. Sometimes debt reached as high as $15,000, which made it extremely difficult for them to leave. Sex trafficking has developed into different forms after outlying parents being able to sell their kids. The history of sex trafficking industry illustrates that its demand in current times is not declining. Hannah Rosenfield, with a bachelor's degree in Asian Studies, states that in Japan, the established sex industry takes place within the public sphere despite its illegality. Prostitution is illegal and defined as sexual intercourse with the promise of compensation. Even though it is illegal, the definition enabled a loophole for a wide range of sexual acts to remain outside of the scope of the law. This results in the establishment of a variety of sex entertainment businesses such as hostess clubs, nude theaters, and peeping rooms. Japan benefits from these loopholes because the sex industry amounts to $24 billion each year, states Hannah Rosenfield, who has a bachelor's degree in Asian Studies. The normalization of transactional sex has created a social acceptance for Japan's sex industry to take place in public. Is there any ways to reduce or stop Japan's sex trafficking? Reducing the demand for the commercial sex is crucial to reducing sex trafficking. A way to reduce the demand is the financial way. According to Abigail Kuzmos, her research from the International Law News states that Japan could enact laws like the US imposes high fees for those that are caught soliciting commercial sex, especially those that are minors. Revenue from these fines could be used to fund traffic victims services or enhance law enforcement efforts. Another way to reduce sex trafficking is through education. According to Abigail Kuzman's research, she states that John schools could require upon arrest. These schools seek to educate the buyer. They teach about the impacts of trafficking victims and their families, the severe legal consequences if they were to reoffend again, and the consequences of sexually transmitted diseases. Finance and education methods could be effective ways to reduce sex trafficking, not only in Japan, but worldwide. That being said, let me conclude with some brief final thoughts. First, I explained the brief history given of sex trafficking in Japan that shows its roots and in their society, and how this allows the sex industry to take place within the public. I then explained two ways to reduce sex trafficking, through education and financial ways. Individuals are harmed each year to continue the billion-dollar industry, not only in Japan, but worldwide. This is a prevalent injury that needs to be stopped. Finally, willful ignorance permits the continuation of sex trafficking. To end it, there needs to be an end to the demand of sex trafficking by enforcing strong laws, effective prosecution, and comprehensive victim services. Any questions? No? Okay.
Yes, we have a question. Sorry.
Oh.
On your presentation, we were hoping that you could better explain your chart right here. Can you tell us why you put this in here, please?
This shows like the amount of sex trafficked victims, and it shows Asia is one of the most prominent ones, the ones with the most.
Is that why you chose Japan?
Yes,
Okay.
because it is listed as the top 2 according to that 2017 conduction.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.